Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and we are working on the BMW E46 project. So today we are going to be doing a full complete coolant flush. Now I like to do this whenever I buy a new car. Typically, you know, flushing coolant, it's not really a service requirement, but I like to do it every 3 to 5 years or so, or of course when I buy a car that's new to me. And yes, that's exactly what we are going to be doing. So we'll get outside and let's get cracking. Okay then, so here we are. We have the car up in the air. I've actually already went ahead and removed the front engine tray. That is just to access the drain plug at the bottom of the radiator. It is this blue thing just there. But before we go ahead and drain it there, what I want to do is actually get the car fired up, get the engine fired up, and then get it up to temperature, and just get the coolant circulating, just so any debris that is settling in the coolant system is getting flushed around, and then hopefully we can drain that out when we release that drain plug at the bottom there. So let's get this thing fired up then. Now then, once you have it running, what you want to do is set the heat to full, and then, you know, you can have the fan speed on whatever you want, but you want to have it on the highest heat, because you want the heater core to open. You want the coolant to be flushing around the entire system. You don't want to leave anything closed. And then what I'm going to do is let it get up to temperature, let the thermostat open as well, just so the coolant is getting everywhere. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and start draining it. Okay, so now that the engine has got up to operating temperature, the heater core has been open and the coolant has been flushing around, we can go ahead and release this drain screw here in the radiator. Yeah, probably best not to use a Phillips screwdriver unless you have a really big one, so I'm just going to go ahead and use a flat bladed screwdriver. This thing should not be tight. I'll just go ahead and loosen it off. As you can see, coolant is already dripping. I'm actually just going to go ahead and remove this thing completely. There we are. Now, as you can see, it's not dripping very quickly, but we go ahead and remove the cap off the coolant tank. This should now run more freely. There we are, it's running a bit quicker now. So as we can see, it's pretty much finished draining now, so we can go ahead and reinstall our drain plug. Now then, as you'll see, this in here is very dirty, but not only that, you'll notice this probably isn't the entire contents of the coolant in the cooling system. That's because from this drain plug here, we can pretty much only drain what is in the radiator. So essentially, to get all of the existing coolant out, we need to do this process a few times. So if we go ahead now and top this up with just plain water. Now, you should use deionized water, you know, officially you should use deionized water, but I'm just going to go ahead and use regular tap water just for the flushing process. When it comes to actually filling up the coolant system, I am going to use deionized water and the coolant mix. But for the flushing, I'm just going to fill this up with regular tap water. And like I've done before, I'm going to get the engine up to temperature, open the heater core, let the coolant flush around, and then we're going to do the same process again. Like I said, you know, drain it from the drain plug, and then hopefully we'll start to see this coolant getting lighter, and then we essentially are done draining the coolant out once this coolant is clear. So I've just went ahead then and drained the entire contents of that bucket into a 5 litre bottle, and I would say we have around 3.5 to 4 litres in here. Bear in mind, when this is at 5 litres, it's not full, so I'd say we have around 3.5 to 4 litres in here. So I'd say this is around half of the coolant in the cooling system in this bottle here. Now we can see it's red. Now this means we have the wrong stuff in the car. BMW uses blue coolant. I'll go ahead and show you exactly what the new coolant looks like. So here we are then. This is the new coolant. This is just neat coolant, so you need to mix this with water. Like I said, we have some deionized water, so we'll be doing a mixture of the two when it comes to finally filling the coolant system up. But this stuff here, the Febby stuff, it's exactly the same as the genuine BMW stuff. So if you do want this and you want to save yourself some money, you know, you don't need to go ahead and buy the genuine BMW stuff. This stuff here is the exact same. I will leave a link down in the description box below, so go and check this out. Okay, so we'll go ahead and, like I said, top up the coolant then with just regular water. We'll just fill this up to the maximum. Okay, let's reinstall our coolant tank cap. Now let's get this engine fired up again and get it up to temperature again. Okay then, so as we can see, the engine is now up to temperature again. It's nice and toasty in here, so I'm going to go ahead and switch this off. Then we'll go ahead and start draining the coolant again. So as you can see, after that drain then, the coolant is still pretty dark, so we are going to have to do at least one more, probably a couple more. Now I have actually removed some engine covers. We'll move on to that in a little bit, but yeah, let's get this thing topped up with water and get this engine fired up and get up to temp again. And I can already see this is starting to come out a lot clearer now. That means we're starting to get most of the coolant out. I'll check what this looks like when we're done, and then I'll decide if we're going to do another one or not. So as you can see, the coolant is definitely getting cleaner. So this is the older stuff, this is the newer stuff. It is starting to get quite clear now, but it's still not like water. We want this to be completely clear ideally. So yeah, I'm going to dump this in there and then we'll use this bucket to drain our fresh batch. As we can see, the engine is up and running again. Just got to get it up to temp and then we can drain it, and then hopefully we will be clearer again. Okay then, so after about 5 or 6 flushes in total, we can see we now just have water dripping. So that means pretty much the old coolant is now entirely out. It's removed. We just have water in the system now. So I'm just going to let this drain completely, and then we will reinsert the screw plug, and then we can start filling the coolant system up with coolant and deionized water. So here we go then. This is what has just came out. This is just pure water now. That slight colour you can see in it, that is just the sediments that are on the bottom of the bucket. There's quite a lot of dirt that has came out of this coolant system. So it's one of the reasons why we are doing this. Like I said, I have no idea when this was last changed out, but it must have been at some point, because like I said, this is the incorrect coolant that was in here. So now that we have all of the original coolant removed, it's now time to start filling it up with our coolant and deionized water mix. Now this is obviously concentrated coolant, and it does have on the back what kind of mixture you need to go to. So if you're in minus 52 Celsius, and you need to use 3 parts coolant to 2 parts water, minus 36, 1 part coolant, 1 part water, minus 24, which we are not even going to get to those kinds of temperatures, but that is 2 parts coolant and 3 parts water. So I've went ahead and reinstalled the under tray and got the car back on the ground now. And when it comes to refilling, now because we still have some water in the system, like I said, it's pretty much impossible to drain every last drop, but we have drained the majority of it. I'm only just going to go ahead and put about maybe a litre and a half of this deionized water in, and then what I'm going to do is just top it up to the maximum with the concentrated coolant. Now before we go ahead and top it up, what we want to do is actually remove the bleed screws in the cooling system. So we have one there, and then we have another one there. We want to fully remove those. Okay then, so let's go ahead and start filling up. Like I said, I'm going to use the deionized water first. And now we'll get started on adding the coolant. You just want to go quite slow because this expansion tank can fill up before it has a chance to go anywhere else. Essentially what we are doing then is we are filling up the coolant until we see it come out of the bleeder holes. So we have these two here, so just keep topping it up until we start to see the coolant rise to the top of these, and then when we do, you should start to see some air come out as well. So we can see we just have coolant running out of here now, no air. So what we can do is go ahead and reinstall this bleeder screw. Looks like we still have some air coming out of this one though, so we will continue filling up until we just have coolant running out of there. There we are then. It's a steady flow of coolant. So we'll go ahead and reinstall the bleeder screw. And now we can see our coolant level is showing too high. Now this may well drop a bit once I get the engine fired up, and once the water pump gets spinning. So we'll get the engine fired up and then see if this coolant level drops. So as you can see, after I let the engine run and I've let it cool back down, we are now at the maximum mark, which is perfect. So we can just go ahead and reinstall our cap, and that is the coolant flush pretty much done. Okay then, so that is the coolant flush on the BMW E46 now done, and it's nice to know that we now have fresh, new, proper coolant in there now, because like I said, whatever was in there before, that was the incorrect coolant. You know, if you do want to purchase the coolant or the deionized water, I will leave links down in the description box below. I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please remember to give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one. Peace!